What happens when a tyrant's ego is left completely unchecked? Well, you get a legend. Today, we're going to dive into one of the great Turkic epics. It's a story all about a cruel ruler, a craftsman who was blinded, and the son who rose up from that darkness to get his revenge. This is the story of Koroglu and the infamous Bey of Bolu.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with one of the most famous lines from this entire saga. Greetings from me to the Bey of Bolu. Now, that sounds pretty polite, doesn't it? Like you're sending a nice, respectful message. But in this story, those words are pure defiance. This is not a friendly hello. This is a challenge. It's basically a declaration of war, and it's delivered by a man who's become the living symbol of rebellion.
So how in the world does a simple greetings turn into a battle cry? Well, the whole story kicks off with this fateful clash between two men, one who has all the power in the world and another whose only power was his incredible skill and his wisdom. Let's meet the tyrant and the craftsman.
So, on one side, you've got the Bolu Bey. He's the governor of the Bolu province, and he is everything you'd picture in a classic tyrant. He's cruel, he's arrogant, and he's just plain oppressive. He rules with an iron fist, you know? And on the other side, you have Yusuf Usta. He's the Bey's master of horses, and Yusuf is famous for his wisdom and this almost supernatural gift for judging a horse's true potential. I mean, he is the best in the land, and everybody, including the Bey, knows it. So the Bey, who is just completely drowning in his own vanity, decides he wants war horses like no one has ever seen before. He calls in Yusuf Usta and gives him this command that sounds simple but is, well, it's pretty much impossible. Find him 2 foals that will grow up to have no equal on the entire planet. The stakes here are huge because, trying to please a guy like the Bey is a really, really dangerous game.
After a long search, Yusuf Usta comes back. But he's not bringing these amazing, powerful-looking animals. Nope. He brings back 2 scrawny, almost pathetic-looking little foals. The Bey is instantly furious. He feels completely insulted. But Yusuf, with his expert eye, he saw what the Bey's arrogance just couldn't. A hidden noble bloodline and just limitless potential buried under a rough exterior. He knew their real value was in their blood, not in how they looked at that moment.
But the Bey, he doesn't listen to reason. He only sees disrespect. And for this so-called insult, his punishment is swift, and it is absolutely barbaric. He orders his men to blind Yusuf Usta with hot irons. In just one moment, the wisest horsemaster in the land is thrown into total darkness, all because of the Bey's fragile ego. And this one act of unbelievable cruelty, that's the spark that ignites the entire legend.
But you see, the Bey's cruelty doesn't end the story. Not at all. It starts a brand new one. From the ashes of this terrible act, a hero is about to rise, and he's driven by vengeance and a burning need for justice. A new legend is just beginning.
So Yusuf Usta has a son. His name is Rushan Ali. And seeing what was done to his father fills him with this deep, burning fire for revenge. He casts off his old name and he takes on a new one, a name that will echo through history, Köroğlu. It's pronounced Köroğlu, and it literally means son of the blind man. Think about that. It's not just a name. It becomes his whole identity, his mission statement, and a constant daily reminder of the wrong he has to make right.
Okay, but what about those 2 scrawny foals? Well, the now blind Yusuf Usta tells his son that they are the key to their revenge. He gives Koroglu these very specific, almost mystical instructions on how to raise one of them. It has to be kept in a pitch-dark stable for years, it has to be fed a secret diet of special herbs, and its body needs to be tempered in the cold waters of a river. This foal, forged in darkness and total secrecy, is going to become the legendary horse Kirat, an animal with almost supernatural speed and strength.
With the magnificent Kirat by his side, Köroğlu gets out of Bolu and sets up a stronghold in a place called Çamlıbel. But he's not just some lone wolf hiding out. Pretty soon, Çamlıbel becomes this beacon for everyone who's ever suffered under tyrants, just like the Bolu Bey. The oppressed, the wronged, the brave. They all start flocking to his side, and his hideout transforms from just some outlaw's camp into a real sanctuary for anyone looking for justice.
Now, Köroğlu wasn't just a warrior. He was also an ashik, a kind of poet and singer. And this famous line from one of his poems, "The rifle was invented and chivalry was corrupted," wow, that is so telling. It's this cry for a time when bravery was face to face, a real test of skill and courage, not just who could shoot someone from farthest away. It shows us he's not just fighting one man, he's fighting for an older, more honorable way of life.
It's an absolutely incredible epic. A hero, his horse, a tyrant. But a story this powerful, it always makes you wonder, how much of it is actually real? So now it's time to peel back the layers of legend and see what history has to say about all this.
And here it is, the million-dollar question. Was there a real historical tyrant actually called the Bolu Bey who blinded a guy over a couple of horses? Or is he just, a fairy tale villain?
So this is where history throws us a really interesting curveball. It turns out Bolu Bey wasn't a person's name. It was an administrative title. It's what you called the governor of Bolu, which means over the centuries there were lots of Bolu Beys. So what likely happened is the legend just kind of mushed together all the oppressive, cruel things that several different rulers did and condensed them into one single symbolic character of ultimate tyranny.
In the historical context here is absolutely key. Researchers believe the Köroğlu story was born right in the middle of something called the Jalali rebellions back in the 16th and 17th centuries. This was a time of massive unrest in Anatolia. People were fed up with heavy taxes, government corruption, and cruel local governors. So this story wasn't just random, it was a reflection of the times. The people needed a hero like Köroğlu to fight back against the very real Bolu Beys who are making their lives miserable.
Okay, so if the legend is a composite, do we have a prime suspect? Well, historical research does point to one man in particular, Musa Pasha Olu Mehmet Bey. He was a governor of Bolu right at the peak of the Jalali rebellions, and local history remembers him as a particularly harsh ruler. Now there's no smoking gun, no definitive proof that he's the Bolu Bey, but boy does he fit the time, the place, and the reputation perfectly.
So whether he was one man or many, the figure of the Bolu Bey and the hero that his cruelty created has left behind this powerful legacy that's lasted for hundreds of years. So let's take a look at why this story still hits so hard today.
The reason the Epic of Köroğlu is still with us is because it's built on these incredibly powerful, universal ideas. I mean, it's about the timeless fight against tyranny, that deep, unbreakable bond between a father and son, and the basic human need for justice. And when you get right down to it, it shows how an ordinary person can be forged into a true hero by extraordinary injustice.
And that's the real takeaway here. These characters have become so much more than figures in a story. They are archetypes, baked into the culture. To this day, if you call someone a Bolu Bey, you're calling them an arrogant, unjust tyrant. And if you bring up the name Köroğlu, you're calling on the spirit of courage, of resistance, and of fighting for what's right.
So in the end, the legend leaves us with this one really powerful thought. The cruelty of the Bolu Bey is the very thing that created his greatest enemy, Köroğlu. It's this timeless reminder that tyranny often sows the seeds of its own destruction by creating the very heroes who will rise up to fight it. And that kind of makes you wonder, who are the tyrants of our time, and what heroes are they unknowingly creating right now?